I'm Haley Sherman. I live in McDonald, Ohio, and I'm here as a proxy for residents of Westwood Lake Park, which is in Wethersfield Township, and less than 500 feet away from the Kibler Well in Lordstown. The last 3 years have been very hard on some of the residents of Westwood Lake Mobile Home Park in Wethersfield Township, Ohio. First, they built the access road, which was a very loud and dusty 4-month project. Then they brought in the rig. So far, the problems were never-ending noise, 24 hours a day, and very bright lights shining directly onto the park. Because of the efforts of residents and neighbors, Wethersfield Township established the first well pad emergency civilian evacuation plan in the country. After about 3 months of drilling, the drill rig was disassembled and transported to another well site within the Meander Reservoir. All was quiet on the Kibler well pad, but we knew what was next: fracking. We knew diesel frac pumps would burn 500 gallons of diesel fuel per hour, 24/7 for a week to 10 days straight. The chemical stench is bad enough. This intense diesel exhaust can be eliminated by using natural gas frac pumps. Westwood Lake Park residents met with township trustees and county commissioners asking them to request that Halcon use these natural gas frac pumps at the Kibler well site. The letters were written, and I've attached 2 of them in there. What was Halcon's response? They went ahead and used the diesel pumps anyway. And in the written testimony, there's like YouTube links that you can follow to see what some of this looked like. For 4 long days and nights, the stench of frac process trespassed into the Westwood Lake Park community. The stench was terrible. Then they went away. Peace and quiet lasted about 1 month, and then they lit the flare. The well had entered the completion stage. Then they turned up the flare. The noise, thick air, and chemical stench was nasty. Residents complained of a metallic taste in their mouths. This nightmare lasted for over 3 months. And 2015 brought new rules for green completion equipment. No flaring allowed, right? Not so fast. On January 5th, 2015, the flare was still lit. John Williams spoke with Ohio EPA and found that the rules do very little to stop flaring. The flare at Westwood Lake Park has been lit for years now, and when the green completion equipment fails, like it does several times a month, the flare goes into hyper mode until the well problems are solved. And I've attached an email exchange between John Williams and Mike Settles of the Ohio EPA. Then later, they brought the fracking rig back and started all over on another leg. This time, Halcon had a few new techniques to teach us. One day during the drilling process, a large, dusty-looking cloud flew from the drilling pad over the lake and over a large section of mobile homes in the park. It was reported later at a Trumbull County Commissioners meeting that Halcon was using air pressure instead of water to drill the well. What about the B-techs and radioactivity that could be thrown downwind by that? Was there any? Nobody knew. Nobody was testing. Then another lesson. They stimulated the well with liquid nitrogen, and residents were told at the commissioner meeting that nitrogen is 70% of our atmosphere and is no problem. John Williams asked at that meeting, what about the B-techs that is released with it that occurs naturally in the well's horizontal legs? And nobody knew the answer to that either. Many people in Westwood Lake Park were exposed to many different potentially harmful chemical emissions. How many got sick then? How many are sick today? How many will show signs of the harm tomorrow? Many people found it hard to breathe during the fracking and flaring process. We don't really know how many are still having issues, but we know of a few. One 80-year-old man who has never had a skin condition in his life now has a head-to-toe rash, which has lasted now for 18 months. Doctors can find no cure. And this man's rash looks very similar to the rash on Randy Moyer, who drove a water truck for oil and gas in Bedford County, PA, and his health problems are well documented online. The Kibler well has 2 active frac legs in production. Eventually, it will host 8 legs. The current conditions will be 4 times worse when this is completed for the life of those wells. Thank you.
I know you're a proxy for the group.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming and doing that. I just have a quick question that you may not be able to answer.
Sure.
But do they have air monitoring around these flares? Is there not ongoing monitoring by the state?
Not that I guess I don't know the answer to that question
Okay.
for sure. But yeah, no?
There's no air monitoring required by the state around the flares?
Yes, there is. The Trumbull County and Monmouth County have a joint mission to monitor air quality within the two counties. And they were monitoring the air quality in Westwood Lake Park from downtown Youngstown, 8 miles to the southwest of Westwood Lake Park. And because the air was good in Youngstown, it must be good in Westwood, so those people are not getting sick.
Okay.
Should I say that into the microphone?
No,
Yeah.
because we don't know who he is, so he can't actually be on the record, but
Right.
we will find an opportunity to put him on the record later,
Okay,
because
yeah,
this is all being transcribed.
yeah,
No.
okay.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yep.
My name is John Williams. I currently live at 150 Upland, Youngstown, Ohio, and I spend a lot of time in Weathersfield as well. Well, here we go. I'm here to basically testify about the conditions that have happened at Meander Reservoir, which is the drinking water supply to 220,000 people. Meander's been under attack by many different aspects of the industry, and I'd like to show you a few of them. Okay, first there's a sad story. This is where ODNR failed us, and the OEPA could care less, okay? Upon discovery of a horizontal frac pad being built in Meander Reservoir's drinking water source protection area, I called Kay Amy at OEPA in Brecksville and asked her how she could allow this. Kay told me that she knew nothing about it. You know, she's in charge of, that's her division that she's in charge of, and she knew nothing about it. She called me back after investigating this and said, "There's nothing to worry about. Tom Tomastic at ODNR has been working on that well for months." ODNR's Tom Tomastic at that time was in charge of underground injection control, not production wells. That's just a tidbit, but why was the OEPA not even advised they were placing a frac pad in a drinking water source protection area, about 100 foot from a stream that directly leads to Meander? What could possibly go wrong? Well, on October 15th, 2012, during the cement process, with the ODNR inspector on site, like they're supposed to be during the cementing process, they had a little problem with the equipment that Halliburton was using. The gauges didn't work. They were just running the cement process by the seat of their pants. They had nothing to know whether they're doing it right or wrong. The ODNR inspector allowed them to continue, and shazam! In our watershed, we now have a frac pad that has a 4-foot split in the 20-inch casing and a very large crack in the intermediate casing. Now, ODNR, they were. I've got this. You can go through and if you want to see a whole bunch of comedy, here it is, about the fix. They basically patched it, cemented it over, and put it in production, okay? So having been with Frac Free Mahoning Valley, we do, on occasion, have access to Tony and Graphia. So I sent this to Tony and Graphia and got his response back. And Tony says, embarrassingly incompetent CIT. They don't appear to believe their own GR and temp data and still trust of some of their other instruments, like CBL. No gas shows, but bubbling but not gas, mostly BS. I hope the inspector kicks butt. The inspector is part of the problem. Those two. Okay, next problem was a little spill called Sulphur Run. In Sulphur Run. Sulphur Run is a tributary that leads to the Meander Reservoir. and it is the closest tributary to the processing plant where we better get it, where we get our water from, so we don't want anything, especially in that tributary. Well, on 3/18/2015, a citizen called the fire department in Weathersfield and let them know we have a diesel fuel spill in Sulphur Run. So the fire chief went down, checked out his diesel fuel spill. The diesel, he threw some retardant or whatever, booms in the water, went back, called the OEPA, reported to the OEPA they have a diesel fuel spill. The next day, the OEPA came out and to check out this diesel fuel spill and immediately ordered a VOC test to be performed by MVSD. Well, VOCs are a contingent of diesel fuel, and diesel fuel is a contingent of frac waste. So their test is only proving that it's diesel fuel. It's not excluding frac waste with the bromides, okay? And did they do any tests other than this VOC test? This is a big report. The answer is no. No. The only test they did, and this is our water supply, and this is the people that we have protecting us and protecting our water supply. And boy. Okay, now we have another little problem. It's called the injection well, AWMS number 1 and 2. Back in 2011, the Niles City Council and Weathersfield Township trustees sent resolutions to the state that would ban injection wells for reasons of public health and safety. The ODNR cannot be told what to do by these locals. Both wells receive permission to drill and then inject. The citizens we didn't take this lightly. We gave them all kinds of reasons why they shouldn't. Like, for one, there was a 7-mile moratorium on injection wells that was set for the North Star 1 4.0 quake maker in Youngstown. 7 miles, no injection wells in there. The AWMS well is 7.1 miles away. It passed, okay? Second, the downtown brick and mortar buildings of Niles are only 1/2 mile away, and it's a beautiful town, but it's not built for earthquakes. Neither was Meander Dam. Okay, then July 28, 2014, just four months into their operation, AWMS caused a 1.7 quake. Then again, on August 30th, 2014, they caused a 2.1 quake. ODNR claims only 2 quakes happened there on their website. We now know that they actually caused 108 quakes, each increasing in magnitude until ODNR shut it down September 3rd, 2014. The outcome: AWMS has appealed ODNR's decision. This has been through 4 hearings already. The final decision may come in August 2017. If they're allowed to turn that injection well back on and it causes earthquakes, our dam is at a big, big risk. Meander Reservoir and Meander Dam has already suffered from quake damage. Before the 4.0 Youngstown quake, the dam was in need of $4 million in repairs, but it's our dam, we can fix it, okay? $4 million, that's what we do. After the 4.0, repairs at MVSD have now been estimated at $28 million. But our local officials and the people that are in charge of that dam are just unsure about what caused these new cracks. They can't figure it out. They've spent a whole bunch of money trying to figure it out. I'm just hoping that they side with caution and common sense, okay? Now, one more thing to say about AWMS. In early 2012, I had a conversation with electeds about open pit or impoundments that I believed were planned for the AWMS well. I and my electeds were told numerous times that no open pits are planned for the site. Well, This is a copy of the emails that I went back and forth with our electeds, and when the state ODNR sent back the response that said there's no open pits or impoundments planned. Well, they said it was a containment bunker for the tanks, for the tank area. Well, he's right. There that is. He said that's on there. But on the same ODNR website, which is where I got this, the people from ODNR say that the impoundment is not planned. But guess what? There it is. Okay, so they say they're not planning to put in open pits. Know this. Where the injection well is, they bought, or they leased 5 acres for the spot, okay? But they leased it from Gearmar, and they also leased directly behind on the same property 100 additional acres, which is backed up with railroads. There's railroad tracks there, and I believe if the oil and gas industry, if the oil prices go down or go up, and this industry comes back and takes over, that will become a frack waste recycling center right in the midst of this populated area. We know that AWMS had no problem risking the safety of the people in Niles by fighting to reopen the deep well, the quake maker well, placing the risk for a quake that will destroy Meander Dam on the backs of 220,000 people who depend on this reservoir for life-sustaining water. Will they do it? I'd bet on it. Thank you.
One follow-up on the cracked casing issue that you mentioned with the fracking well in Meander watershed area. How was this cracked casing discovered? Normal inspection?
This is a really great question. I'm a member of Frack Free Mahoning Valley, and every now and then we protest. And on that day, it just so happened that Frack Free Mahoning Valley and students from Oberlin College in Oberlin all met at that site. 7 students were going to be arrested. They planned on it, and so they blocked the entrance to the well. Well, as it turns out, no trucks were coming in and out anyway. They had the problem that day. They weren't going to arrest anybody to bring in any attention to anybody, so we basically ordered pizza, sat in the driveway, eating the pizza, and we said, well, I guess we guess it worked, and we went home. About 3 days later, we found out that they had an issue. And we found out it was basically, I believe the information was posted on the ODNR website, and we found it.
So the crack in the casing occurred during the normal process of disposal or fracking?
This isn't, yeah, it's a fracked well, but the crack happened during the cementing of the casing with the ODNR inspector, Mr. John Fleming, on site, with the gauges not working.
Okay.
And they did it anyway. And it's in operation. They patched it and said, good enough.
So rather than pulling the casing and replacing it with casing that was known to have its integrity intact,